And then I realized it's all about spirituality. It's what is
Mm.
your relationship with your creator? This is the key to health. And that's way out here. That B is at, I mean, that's infinity. And that's where heaven is, and that's where Heavenly Father lives, and he's got a son. And when I reached that point in my life, it just realized I will continue to seek information. Some of it will you won't agree with, and that's okay. Um, but but don't do everything to affirm what you believe, because you're not going to grow.
That is Dr. Todd Frisch talking about the importance of always learning and always growing in our wellness journeys. You will be so encouraged and blessed by our conversation today as we are diving into so much richness for all areas of our wellness: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, because it's all connected and it's all vitally important, as you will hear from my friend and mentor, Dr. Todd Frisch. And as a high functioning woman feeling exhausted, inflamed, foggy, and yet still pushing through because you may have told yourself, hey, this is just my life right now, this powerful episode is for you. Listen, I work with driven, faith filled women every single day who are doing a lot of things right in their health and for their health, and yet their bodies keep resisting and holding on. But this resistance, I promise you, is not random. It's information and it's protection. And in my conversation today with Dr. Todd, we are going deeper than surface level symptoms that midlife women are feeling. He is bringing decades of clinical experience helping people understand what is actually happening at the cellular and neurological level when the body is under stress and inflammation. So listen in as you absorb how high functioning fatigue is often a heightened nervous system and brain that feels unsafe, overworked, and frankly under constant demand of life. But my prayer is that this conversation with Dr. Todd will help you to connect the dots between your own personal stress, exhaustion, and inflammatory signals that your body is giving you, and the deeper roots that, frankly, we often miss when we are in the thick of our midlife health challenges. Let's get into this powerful conversation. Hi, everybody. It is so good to have you back here on Treasured Wellness. This guest episode, it is so long overdue, and I know it will bless you immensely. I have with me today Dr. Todd Frisch. He is founder of Shape Reclaimed Anti-Inflammatory Nutritional Program and author of Why the Face, a practical guide of understanding health and personality through facial diagnosis. I love to use this tool inside my program, and my clients are seriously blown away, Dr. Todd, from their results. But with all of that said, I am also incredibly honored to call Dr. Todd my friend. So, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be back. It's been too long.
Too long. Too long. Okay. Um, I always like to start off with asking, what are you treasuring right now in the season of your life?
Wow. You know, I didn't know Charlie Kirk, and I knew of him, but I'm not somebody that hangs on videos and that kind of stuff. And he could be my son. You know, I'm 72 and he's 30 was I
Three.
guess 33. Um, but something happened, and and I just it touched me in such a deep way, and I began hearing things, people condemning him. I mean, the guy's just been murdered, and they're condemning him, and I thought, I'm going to dig a little deeper into this thing, and I just saw exactly who that man was, and so what's touching me today is my own personal need to be bold. You know,
Amen.
I think as Christians, and we both are, um, I think you can be rather sloppy as a Christian, and I'm done. I'm going to be bold. So that's what's
Amen. 100%. I'm right
that's
there with
very
you.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, I am right there with you. And you did an amazing Why the Face episode on your YouTube channel. It's a fabulous YouTube channel. I'm going to link it in the show notes so that everybody can take part of that. But you did the one that you did on Charlie Kirk was just I don't know how you got through it
Yeah,
the
it was
way you
tough.
did,
Tough.
but and just because I know you, I knew that that was hard. But anyway, this the YouTube channel is fantastic about the, just the eyes. I mean, and you feel free to talk about that too, but it was just
Yep.
incredible on Charlie Kirk. I've of course watched some others, but like his, because that touched me so much too. That it just
Yeah, it was an event, and I had read just recently a story about Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
mm,
He was the Lutheran pastor in Nazi Germany, and he just said, "No,
right.
I'm not in agreement with what you're doing and what you're doing to the Jewish population." And of course, they threw him in prison, and he started a movement. Um, uh, and sadly, 1 month before the end of World War II, he was hung.
Hmm.
And he just stood up. Just see Kirk as this generation's Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and it just that got me.
Yeah. Yeah. It got me for a long time too, and it still gets me. And yeah, so it's
Let's talk about health. We get the
yes,
extreme
and that
to
but that
try it.
right, that leads into like the boldness that we want all of our clients to take in owning their health. Like I really
Absolutely.
want the women in my community to stand up, be bold, and take back their health, restore it and own it. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, because that's the only way that we're going to get the health that we are
Mhm.
wanting, praying for,
Everything in
desire.
our society is taking away self-responsibility. We have a pill for that. You don't have to worry about
Yes.
that. You can ask Siri. Don't be curious. We don't want you to be curious.
No.
Siri, just ask Siri. So
Yeah.
here's what Siri can't do. Siri can't answer questions never been asked, and it can't come up with a new idea. But they are pushing that agenda on our children's and our children's children
Yes.
to the point where they will no longer be curious. I was born curious. My ADD was built on my insatiable desire to understand things. But mom, why? But mom,
Right.
why?
Right.
I said it because I said so. And my ADD I was the philosopher ADD. I got everything done. I just started 800 things. And it was insane to be around me. I have this beautiful lady in my life who is a king face, which is a natural leader. I'm a bucket face, so I love to think. And at the thought, and I go, "That's such a great." Oh, there's another thought. Oh, there's another. So I need a tether. I need somebody to hold me to earth. And I have this beautiful lady in my life who's a king face, which is the natural leader, and she just keeps my dreams coming true, and it's awfully cool.
She's an amazing
She
powerhouse.
is.
The woman
She is.
behind the man is what I call Linda, the woman
Yep.
behind the man. And I'm so excited she's going to be coming on again as well in a couple weeks. So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I wasn't intending, our conversations are always, they just flow. But
Organic is the best.
what is so dangerous too about AI is that women are putting in symptoms, they're putting in their lab tests even, and they're getting spit out and quote unquote answer, a formulation, a how to, and it's largely conventionally based.
Yeah.
So
Well, you
that's
have the prejudice of the person that developed the program, and if
of
they're
course.
heavily weighted towards a very Western medicine, traditional medicine. And I'm not against that. Look, I have no problem with that. Even though I didn't do that world, I lived more of a natural healing world. I respect it, and it should be respected. And here's my dog
Right.
Lambo. Say hello, Lambo. Come over.
Lambo.
So, but again, you're going to get those built-in prejudices. The key to understand this is to realize it's a tool. Now,
Yes.
a hammer is a tool. You can build a house and you can kill your neighbor. It's how you use that tool. So, AI is not going to go away. It's
No.
it's going to get more intensified. We just have to be respectful and think with our head and our heart. And if you think just with your head, you're going to go in the wrong direction. You put heart
Mhm.
energy into it, it'll make a huge difference. And heart energy is about spirituality, and
Yeah.
it is such a necessary component in the decision making process. And we don't honor that like we should. I did in my practice. We prayed every morning. We held hands as a staff. My staff prayed for me for wisdom and understanding. We prayed for patients that they could be open to what we were going to suggest to them, and then we had these miracles occur. I literally, Michelle, sometimes had to pull out my Guyton's physiology from 1976 and try to understand how the patient got well. If you can make this statement at the end of your career, you've had a good career. And the statement is, my successes were greater than my abilities. When that
Mhm.
statement comes out of your mouth, you have crossed that line into a really good place, in my opinion. And I can tell you my successes, I had things happen. I go, that can't happen. And it did. And it's like, wow, how did that happen? Well, because you crossed that line.
Exactly. That is a perfect lead in because I really did want to talk to you about spiritual roots of sickness, spiritual roots of
Mhm.
disease. And it's such a mind body spiritual wellness, right? The body was
Right.
brilliantly designed. Everything's connected.
Fearfully and wonderfully made. Simple as that.
Yes, absolutely. And we cannot compartmentalize that. Number
No.
one, we can't compartmentalize symptoms in the body. But speaking spiritually, because, as believers, we understand that there are spiritual roots of sickness that
Right.
lead to the physical, the mental, the emotional problems. For example, bitterness and fear, that's a spiritual root of heart issues,
Right.
heart problems.
Right.
And I did an episode several weeks ago, months ago on fear as a spiritual root. And it's just really powerful that, again, this is going to help women to own their health and be very bold in decision making over their own care. So I would love your position on the spiritual roots of dis-ease and disease.
Okay, let's start the clock to our expose on this whole thing.
I know, it's
Uh,
so rich.
it is. So in practice, I I did a technique developed by Dr. Ted Morter. It was called the BEST technique, BEST, bioenergetic synchronization technique. Fascinating technique. And my philosophy in working with patients is to remove the obstacle to the cure. Something is in the way of you getting well. Now, is that a physical? Is it a mental, emotional? Is it spiritual? Is it all of them? It usually is all of them, by the way, just for the record. After
Yes.
45 years of doing this, which is amazing because I'm 47 years old. So
You look amazing.
I was a genius. Yeah. So as I played with this technique and I got into lots of energy medicine kind of stuff, I was the Frisch problem every church I was at because I use words like yin and yang and energy and people thought I was absolutely evil. And I would say, is it possible to not understand something and it not be evil? And people say, of course. And then said, well, you don't understand the words yin and yang. They're just terms to describe something. And so as I got into this, I realized I there was a book by Dr. Emoto, The Hidden Messages in Water. Have you ever seen that or read it?
I've heard of it.
What he did is he would tape a word to water, a jug of water, and then he would take some of that water and he would put it and he would freeze it, and at the moment it crystallized, he would take a picture of it. It's an amazing piece of work, Emoto's work. But there's an energetic principle involved here. And I began studying that in depth. And there's a term called hertz. Everything has a vibrational rate.
Right.
We do as humans, but words have a vibrational rate. And here's the interesting thing: the vibrational rate of the word love is 528 hertz. And I mean, it's documented. This is science, follow the science. We know that's a lie, or we have
Hmm.
shown that has been shown a lie. But, you
Yeah.
know, when if love has a hertz of 528, what the other words have? So I had this patient. I never told people what I was doing in practice because I felt if I told them what I was doing, I would remove all doubt from their mind that I'm crazy and they wouldn't come back. So I would just do my thing. And I had this little old lady. I went to church with her. She's a Southern Belle. And she's, Dr. Todd, what are you doing? And I go, I don't understand your question. She says, well, what are you doing? And I go, once again, I don't understand your question. Well, I come in here, you touch me here, you touch me here, you muscle test this, and I walk away feeling better. I just want to know what you're doing. and, and I get this check in my spirit, like, yeah, no. I said, well, look, I'm just trying to balance your energy. I'm trying to let your body heal itself. Again, remove the obstacle to the cure. So I'd like to know what you're doing. And I thought, what the heck? Let it rip. And I said, look, what I'm doing is I'm putting you into a state of 528 hertz. Now, why that's important is that's the energy of the word love. It's the hertz, the vibrational rate of the word love. And I said, you won't stay there. Nobody does. Christ did. Maybe came close to it, but I can't stay there. I said, now what's significant is other words have vibrational rates. The word hate has a vibrational rate of 100. Fear has a vibration of about 125. I said, but even more significant than that, diseases have a vibrational rate. Cancer, depending on the cancer, has a vibrational rate of 40 to 100. So if fear and hate are a big part of your life, you're going to bring your body's energy down to a place where cancer says, hey, I can live here. There's nothing wrong with cancer. It just lives at a vibrational rate that's very detrimental to us as humans, who should be at 528. And she burst into tears. And I go, yeah, I knew I should have followed that check in my spirit. And she said, Dr. Todd, you need to share this with everybody. She said, you didn't know my husband, did you? And I said, no, I knew he had passed away. I didn't know her that well. And she said, he was a hateful man. He was despised, incredibly successful, very, very wealthy, but a miserable human being. Hate was his overriding. He couldn't drive himself hard enough to screw somebody over to make some money. And she said he died of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I went, wow.
Mm.
And you know, I just the answer is love. And what's the most commonly used message that Christ ever ever spoke is that message of love. And we miss it. And look what's happening in this world today. There's so much hate. There's so much derisive energy that we just we cannot disagree with someone without becoming disagreeable. There was a day we could disagree. Look, I'm conservative. I'm traditional. I'm not Republican. That's a toxic word. Democrat is a toxic word. These two clash like and they're as far as away as east is from west. And when one says one thing, the other says this. Now, 2 years later, this says this thing, and this now says and it's like you guys all suck.
Right.
So somebody's, well, what what did you vote? And I go, I voted for somebody I liked. And I looked at his face because I do facial diagnosis. And I
Mm.
wouldn't vote for that person simply because this is what their face says. They go, really? So the answer is love. And really the path is always math. How do we knock out hate? We love them. The cool thing is we knock out five of them because hate is 100 and love is 528. We knock out five haters. So all we have to do is get enough people to love other people, and uh, and then we can end this stupidity that is going on in this world today. Whoa, that got deep, didn't
Hmm.
it?
It did. And that's, yeah, I love it. Because these are the kinds of conversations that we have off camera too. So this
Yeah,
isn't,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
exactly.
real life, real things that are important to both of us that we talk about. So yeah, I mean, it's just so powerful.
Mhm.
And when we dig deeper into the Word of God, like it will explain this,
It
with
does. It does.
our for our
It,
eyes.
it, it's simple. He gave us 10 rules. You know, live these rules and you have a better life. Um, and kind of none of us do. I 10. This got 10
Yeah.
things that he recommends highly that you pay attention to. And if we just, wouldn't it be a better world if we just honored our mother and our father? You know,
Yeah.
what what a simple thing. How about loving your neighbor?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can't love our neighbor, I mean, how do we really love ourselves? I mean,
Way.
that's a
And
whole
that
other,
that really comes down. It's the self-hate that goes on. And this
yeah,
creates this cascade of physiological events. Right now, the big word in our world of medicine, and even the Western medicine, we do more natural kind of things, but it's all about inflammation. And inflammation
yeah,
has a very understandable cascade of events that will occur. And
right.
there are players that are involved. And so inflammation is bad. No, it's not. Inflammation is a protective and natural response to an insult, whether that insult be an injury or an infection or whatever it might be. And the key is to get you back to health. Inflammation removes damaged cells. It will eliminate toxins and it fights these microorganisms that are out there. So in this inflammatory cascade, it starts with a triggering mechanism. And when I teach this, I teach this as there's two different kind of triggers. There's a stranger signal. When I say signal, what happens is the cell of the body has to be invited into this process. It has to be signaled. And you can have a stranger signal, and this is something that comes from the outside. This is a parasite. This is a virus, a bacteria, a fungal agent. And then you have danger signals, and these are injuries. This is the damage you get in an accident, and this is where you damage DNA and RNA and your ATP and your cells' ability to replicate and reproduce is damaged. You can have these damaging proteins, these danger things. These are the beta amyloids that are involved with dementia and Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. Then there's a danger signal called crystal depositions, and this is I did a lot of work with acidity, and this is uric acid, and this is creates this inflammatory cascade. And then there's like asbestos. It would be another crystalline form.
Mm.
And then there's diet, and this is the most common problem is over nutrition. We eat too much, and then there's of course trans fats, and then there's something I refer to as what's called food shock. This is excess carbs. We just eat too many carbohydrates. Then we have almost an allergic type reaction in food. Yeah. And when an allergist measures a scratch test, he's measuring what's called an IgE, immunoglobulin E. And if you have an IgE food reaction, you don't have to have it measured. You eat strawberries, you break out in hives. It's cause and effect. You know it. Now, foods, though, have a delayed reaction, something called an IgG4, immunoglobulin G4. And these things can be measured. There's tests we can do as physicians that can pick up these food sensitivities. And then there's processed foods, and then of course there's the chemicals in food. And this is why I'm so excited about Robert Kennedy, because
Mm.
he is going to go after the basics. And he's picking the low-hanging fruit right now. He's, why is he paying attention to coloring? Well, because it's important. He's got to go after the bigger things. So again, the whole purpose of inflammation is to heal. Now, there are key players in the inflammatory response. There's free radicals. They cause cross-linking of the tissue. They're tied to many conditions, cancer being one. There's something called NF-kappa B. This is an amplifier of inflammation. This is something that says, let's kick the mechanism on. And again, the whole purpose is to eliminate it. The problem is when we get into a chronic state, chronic inflammatory state. That's where all the damage comes in occur. Then there's something called prostaglandins. They're made from essential fatty acids, and this is why fish oil is such a good anti-inflammatory because of what it does. And then there's something called prostaglandins. But the interesting thing is something no one's ever heard of when it comes to inflammation, and that's something called inflammasomes. These are, matter of fact, Big Pharma is trying to make a drug that's going to fix these things.
Oh,
So
of
these are
course.
made by the nucleus of the cell, and they're very quickly produced and quickly disassembled. And their whole purpose is to produce what are called cytokines. Now, cytokines, again, is this cascade of events that are supposed to occur so we can eliminate the problem. Inflammation is absolutely necessary. If you can't if you roll your motorcycle and get all scraped up and you can't inflame, you're going to die. You're going to die right there. You're not going to clot, and nothing's going to happen. But if this becomes a chronic situation, these cytokines, when they're altered, when they're into this long-term kind of thing, we're looking at obesity. We're looking at insulin resistance. We're looking at non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The fastest growing condition in children today is
Yeah,
non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
yeah,
What's that all about? It's about the food we're eating, the food shock.
right.
I'm getting off on a tangent.
Sugar,
Yeah,
carbs,
yeah,
all that.
absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. atherosclerosis involved, gout is involved. And then we got dementia. And this is where the insulin resistance and the dementia, Alzheimer thing comes into play. There's something they're now touting as type 3 diabetes. And
Yes.
that is cognitive decline as a result of the toxic effect of insulin in the brain. And so it's all tied to this inflammatory process and cancer, immunosuppression, premature aging, osteoarthritis, increased blood pressure, lung disease, cataracts. There's nothing that's not tied to this whole inflammatory cascade that went awry. And so the interesting thing is something called prostaglandins. This is an interesting aspect in this inflammatory cascade. There's something called the cyclooxygenase enzyme. So I remember when COX-2 inhibitors came out, and I go, COX-2, what is that? And it was Vioxx and Celebrex. And Vioxx caused heart problems, and they took it off the market. Well, Vioxx and Celebrex are identical. One just had a better press agent. That's as
Mm-hmm.
simple as it is. So it blocks the COX-2 enzyme, which blocks this particular prostaglandin 2. So you got prostaglandin 1, prostaglandin 2, prostaglandin 3. Prostaglandin 2 is pro-inflammatory and immunosuppressive. Prostaglandin 1 and 3 strengthen the immune system and are anti-inflammatory. A COX-2 inhibitor blocks all three of them. So we're blocking the bad guy, but we're blocking the good guys.
Right.
Two good guys. So two is
Yeah.
better than one, obviously. It just math is always math. So when you take a fish oil, you will block PG2, but you'll enhance PG1 and 3 because God made fish oil, man made Vioxx and Celebrex. And then you have what I call side effects. And it's like, duh, wake up, people. So,
Yeah.
when we want to tie all this together, it still comes back to the fact that we have to create an environment where that inflammatory cascade is is proper and healing is enhanced instead of becoming chronic. But we do too many things like hate our neighbor and are fearful and are whatever, and just do the list. So now we've got the physical, the mental, emotional, and the spiritual aspect, and it just creates what we are now, one of the unhealthiest nations in the world. We spend more money per capita than the top 28 nations in the world on health, and yet we are 29th in world health.
It's money. It's big
Yeah,
business. Like
yeah,
we have a disease management system. We gave up the healthcare system,
yeah,
decades ago, and it's
absolutely.
just all about money. And it is so interesting with all of these new drugs, all
Yep.
of that, people are getting sicker and sicker, and it's just it's a very fast. It used to be a slow fade, and now I feel like it's a very expedited fade into illness.
And if you just look at this logically, how many drugs have come out for hypertension? Uh, Many, hundreds probably. How many drugs for diabetes? Many. What are the two fastest growing diseases? Two of the top three fastest growing diseases? Well, it's cardiovascular, high
Yeah,
blood pressure, and diabetes.
right.
It's worse than it's ever been, and we have more medications for it. Now we have the GLP-1s because and now and what even their ads, they're so subtle and so sinister at the same time. Just take this. You don't have to do anything else. Just take this and you lose weight. Now, if you stop taking this, all the weight's going to come back. What message they just send to the
Right.
brain of that individual?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can never not take this. Well,
Never.
this is nirvana in big pharma. And
Yes.
this started with the birth control pill.
Yes.
Big pharma was all about fixing a problem and giving something to help somebody get over a particular condition. And then they came out with the pill in the 1960s, early 60s. And what they realized, oh, people have to take this forever. They can never not. If they don't have children, they can take. Now, of course, menopause will end that need, but it just lit up big pharma. They go, this is what we got to do with every drug. We don't want to fix anything. We want to manage everything. Let's
Right.
manage this disease, keep people addicted to medications,
Yes.
take away self responsibility. And the ultimate takeaway of self responsibility is GLP-1s. They're not going away.
They're
They are
not.
not going away. There's too much money behind them,
Yeah,
and they work. I wish they didn't work. The birth control pill works. Is there damage from it? Absolutely. I'm not going to, it's a
right.
whole nother lecture we can go on to, but
Sure.
um, and just research breast cancer and when it started. And it started basically when the birth control pill came out. And you can track them, the increase, we're all walking in the Susan Komen race. And it happened exactly as we used the birth control pill. I'll let you do your own research on that, but
Yeah.
it'll never make headlines because it will crush our economy. That lawsuit would crush this economy.
Right. Well, and there are a few lawsuits like for gastroparesis and different things,
Yeah,
but
for the GLP ones.
the
Yeah.
thing is the FDA is trying to push GLP-1 for children as young as 6, and that is
Oh,
absolutely
that,
criminal in
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah.
And there's so much, again, bringing it back to the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. The body
You
is
think?
brilliantly designed. The body knows what to do when we give it what it needs and when we stop the nonsense, stop the toxicity. So, talk about the GLP-1. Our body naturally
We produce our
makes
own GLP ones. I built a program called Shape Reclaimed, and it basically is tied to that same mechanism, the GLP ones. And the chemistry behind this is very well understood. Um, and the majority of people that take this do not have side effects. And that's why it's not going to go away. The people that do have side effects, it can be profoundly bad. But because you're not one of those people, you can say, well, I'm just going to keep taking this. Now, we don't know the long-term effects of this, but to understand exactly what's involved here, you've got to go back to the process of self-responsibility. When you take away self-responsibility, what happens? Well, nothing good happens. Nothing good happens. And I'm going to ask the audience, has anything in your life of value that you've deemed valuable come easily? Have a good marriage. It is it is work every day. I have this amazing lady standing next to me. She could have been a unbelievably successful interior designer. She could have been a landscape architect. Little training, she could have been a chef at any high-end restaurant in this country. And she chose to not do that and stand behind me and let me stand in that out on that platform with my preaching. And she gave up all that. And I don't honor that as much as I need to honor that. And I feel bad about that. And I'm trying to change that. But, I think when you realize how valuable things are and how they don't come easily, and they're not supposed to come easily. If it comes easily, it's not good. If you make a lot of money fast. I remember I was in an investment thing once, and this guy made a fortune, and with that fortune, he was telling everybody else how to make a fortune. He made his fortune in vaping. He was the first to invest in vape, and I got up and left. And he said, "Are you leaving?" I said, "I am." He said, "Can I ask why?" I said, "Because you built a fortune on something that is absolutely so unhealthy and so incorrect. I have no respect for it. I'm simply stepping out of here." And about 6 other people left with me, you know, and it was like, no, that is not how you make money. Even if he made money, it's not. And I'm sure the guy his life is miserable right now because
Yeah.
he made it easy. They did it with the studies they've done on people that win the lottery. Within 2 years, 80% are bankrupt,
Mhm.
no matter if they won a million or 100 million. 80% are bankrupt, and because it came easy. So if you got to work for something, it adds value, and health needs to be worked on because it is the most valuable entity for us personally, for us to do life and make a difference in this life. And you know my shtick on the three phases of us professionally. The first phase we're going to go through is survival. And, I remember getting out of school thinking, man, they're keeping score now. I got to produce, and I honed my trade. I got in front of people and I did the do's and it became the second phase, which was successful. And I remember when the guy that told this story, the second phase, there's three phases of success. He said the second phase of success. And I'm thinking, this is the Mercedes 80s. You got to understand. So everything was about what you drove and what you had and how much you made. And I'm thinking, I'm like 28 years old. I'm thinking, what's better than success? And he said it's significance. And
Mhm.
and I've met many, many people that were incredibly successful that were miserable. They were hated. Back to the little old lady from down south.
Yeah.
You didn't know my husband, did you? And went on to explain how he died of stage 4 pancreatic cancer because his life was filled with anger and hatred and greed. So I want to be significant. Whatever, however that comes out, I'm okay. There's our personal legacy. Mine's good, but when the people that I affected when they pass from this earthly plane, that legacy will die. I'm okay with that. But then there's the legacy. What have you done for mankind? What
Mhm.
difference have you made on this earth for your fellow man? Charlie Kirk was
Yes.
significant.
Yes, he was. Absolutely.
Tying it back to the beginning.
Yeah. And that will live on. That
It
will live
will.
on for sure. God uses everything so for his good and for our good and his glory. So yeah, that's I'm glad you tied that back in. Um, health is our legacy. Health is, generational health. Like everything that we do does impact our family and future generations.
Right.
And that's how it should be. We should be
Right.
thinking forward thinking. We should be thinking, uh, as believers, kingdom minded, which
Absolutely.
involves our family first and foremost, really.
Absolutely. And there are no small decisions.
No,
There are no small decisions from what you choose for breakfast to who you choose to marry. There are no decisions that are not important. If you're choosing frosted flakes and putting tablespoons of sugar on your frosted flakes every morning, but you can use almond milk because you're dairy sensitive. It's like,
right,
come on,
right.
wake up. And so just look at every decision you make of having some eternal consequences, and life will be much easier to understand.
Yeah, I agree. I want to go back to something you touched on about insulin resistance because that is
Yep,
so key in hormones that women are fighting, through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Hormonal changes can go
sure,
on for a long time, and
sure,
it's aggravated by our nutrition, by our lifestyle for sure. Yes.
sure.
But I want to talk about how you created these shape drops with such an amazing formula of homeopathy to not only reduce the inflammation, help the brain body communication. That's one of the biggest things I love about it, just personally, is that brain body communication.
Right.
But also, it's helping insulin resistant hormone support. It's on a nanomolecular level. So, without getting really geeky for us, can you just dive into that about
Do
what
I
is
not
it
look
about
like
your
a geek?
formula?
No.
No,
Yeah, yeah. So I look as a physician, I had disdain for weight loss programs because I build shape on two premises. Number one, all diets fail because all diets fail.
right,
They work until when? Until you stop, and then you gain all the weight back, and then some. I get gaining all the weight back, but why the and then some?
right.
And the second premise was it can't be just metabolic. It's got to be something else. And I read a book in the early 80s called How to Lower Your Fat Thermostat. It was the first book that brought to my attention the term um, set point. And this is
Mm,
what your brain thinks you should weigh. And as I was researching this, my wife gained some weight with menopause, lost her mind. Beautiful woman, just on, on all levels, heart, energy, physical. I think she's beautiful. I'll let the world
yes,
make the call, but for
she
me,
is.
she's beautiful. Um, and so she gained some weight, and I go, you got to do something. And I'm thinking, I don't want to play with weight loss. But when I went on this search, the link was why the and then some. So a guy, 240 pounds, construction worker, says, I'm going on Atkins, and he crushes it. And every day he's measuring his urine and he's in large ketosis. And large ketosis is sending a message to your brain every day, I'm starving. Okay. Low calorie diets every day, I'm starving. So whatever it is, all diets are sending a message to the brain, I'm starving. So let's remember the set point. This is what your brain thinks you should weigh. So the guy gets down to 200 pounds, feels great, and then he eats a piece of bread, and all hell breaks loose. He just cannot, to feed me Seymour. And within 6 8 weeks, he's back to the 240, and then 6 to 8 weeks later, he's at 260. So when I realized this was the common denominator in virtually every diet, it isn't you didn't gain the weight back and that was it. You gained it and then some. What is that all about? Well, what you did is you send a message to your brain that you're starving. The brain says, okay, you starved yourself. I'm going to bring you back to where you were. And then I'm going to put 20 pounds extra on it. I'm going to put now you at 260 because you starved yourself. And that was the key. And I realized everything I put, every herb, every mineral, everything I put into this formula was based on all the years of experience I had up to that point, which was basically 25 years of experience. How do you support the pancreas? How do you support the brain? How do you support the endocrine system? And there's something in the brain called the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. It's the only place the nervous system talks to the endocrine system. This is a key. It's the only place they talk. They talk things over when anything happens, and then they send messages via the hormonal system. To the thyroid, it's going to send your thyroid stimulating hormone. To your ovaries, your luteinizing hormone, and your follicle stimulating hormone. All these different endocrine to the pancreas, to the adrenal glands, ACTH, and it helps your body heal and function properly. But if that communication is messed up, then the messaging is messed up. And therefore, you begin to have problems and symptoms and weight gain and depression and anxiety. And so I build shape to make the brain connect. We've got things to support the hypothalamus and pituitary. So the endocrine system is going to be enhanced. The miracle happened. I built this for Linda so she could lose weight, and she did very, very well with it. And then I began using it in other menopausal patients. And I thought, I wonder if real people would would lose weight on this. So it just took off, and then all the miracles started happening. We saw insulin drop. We saw blood sugar drop. My success with type 2 diabetes, if they did the program, was virtually 100%. I never took anybody off injectable insulin until Shape Reclaim came. I
Mhm.
took people off oral, but I never took them off injectable. I had people with insulin pumps that had them altered. Hypertension plummeted. Inflammation plummeted. The markers, the C-reactive proteins, those things all kind of dropped. And I go, hey, I'm onto something here. I did not build this program with the intention of clearing up somebody's pustules on their head, oozing pus on their head, which I've had happen because they got healthier. And I realized this is not a diet. This is a lifestyle modification program that's enhanced by some things. And we monitor in Shape, the key is to never let the brain get a message that it's starving. And we can use a simple urine analysis. It's called a
Love it.
diascreen 10 different tests, five of which, if they show up, it means your brain is starving or your body is starving. And we modify the food intake based on what that urine analysis tells us. So it was just this amazing thing that I believe, you know, it's Old Testament that you keep your eyes on the prize, God will order your steps. Lynn and I just feel our steps have been ordered on this one.
Yeah,
Our
I agree.
successes were so great. Have we got the crap kicked out of us with the GLP-1s? Absolutely. Are we down in business? Absolutely. Do I care? Well, sure, I care, but I'm not changing. I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to use some GLP-1s and Shape. Now, I will tell this anyone that's doing GLP-1s, they should do Shape because you have to change your relationship with food, and Shape will enhance that. We will also reduce a lot of the other things, the muscle wasting that is so common with
Yeah.
GLP-1s. They call it Ozempic face and
Yes.
Ozempic butt, and
Yes.
because we lose muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia. We lose muscle mass as we age, anyways. That's the aging process, and we just cannot get these muscles. I work out, and I don't get the ripping muscles that I did when I was young. It's
Yeah.
because I'm 72 years old and I just don't have my body does not have the capability. There's something called senescence. It's called aging. And premature aging is enhanced by the inflammatory cascade, as we talked about. So you can actually invite yourself closer to death by not doing things that are right, which I think is It should be motivation itself.
I was just going to say that right there. We could just stop right there. Yeah, my clients have had amazing success with using the drops and just changing their relationship with food, learning
Excellent.
to listen to their body, not doing things that are causing more harm, like over exercising because that's what they feel like they should be doing. All of these important details. And I actually just had a call with somebody within 3 months, her labs completely changed and her doctors were so impressed.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is with like one of her conditions was rheumatoid arthritis,
Yeah.
and like just couldn't even walk upright.
Yeah.
And just she's just bebopping up and down steps now, standing upright, like
And that
60%.
makes for a good day, doesn't it?
It does. And like and then she's like, my doctors were so impressed and they're like, what are you doing? And they spent extra time with me while I was explaining what I was doing
Yeah.
and like keep it up. And so it's just yeah, it just makes the hard days so much better when you get reports like this because
It
it
does.
truly is life changing. It is
It is.
life changing. And when we own our health, when we just decide we're not going to live this way anymore. We're not going to live the
No.
way we think, we have to live. No, because God created you to live on purpose, for a
Yeah.
purpose, and to be in good health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to take our good health and make a difference in
That's right.
mankind. And you can't make a difference when you're not healthy. There's a Chinese proverb about health and wealth, and a man will do all these things to make themselves wealthy, but will they do what they need to make themselves healthy? And he would give up the incredibly wealthy man would give up all his riches to have health, and he may have gone so far that he can't bring it back, and that's the sad part. But my philosophy is if you're still alive, you can get well.
That's it.
And I started
That's
every patient walk through my door. People walk through our doors, and I'm taking a history. I'm going, what are you doing here? This is so above my pay grade. And then I take a breath and I go, all right, what's their pH? How are they handling stress? How's their digestion? What's their immune system doing? Let's begin the process, and let's remove the obstacles to the cure and let them just
it.
heal themselves. And it was good.
It's so amazing that, when you live it, you see it. Yeah, the body actually can heal
Yeah.
itself. It actually can recover. And
Mhm.
these labels that have been put on people, put on society when it comes to wellness, they don't, number one, no, never believe it, never buy into it because that's
Right?
the whole spiritual part of it, your mind, body, soul, all of that. But it really just, you can't keep it to yourself. Like you said, you
No.
have to share it. You have to talk to other people. And again, we are building legacy in our family and
Yep.
in our sphere, in our circle, our
Yep.
influence, all of that. So,
Yep.
yeah,
It,
this,
it it's a remarkable thing, and um it just wakes you up in the morning. It is just um I've lived a blessed life, and I used, you know, you have to come to a point where you realize you have to make a paradigm shift. And mine was I was trained as a physician to ask what's wrong. And I get that.
right,
And you got cancer, you got diabetes, you want to know what's wrong, doctor in your camp. But I had patient after patient after patient that I knew something was wrong, they knew something was wrong, and all their tests were textbook midline normal. And so, the medical answer is 20 milligrams of Prozac. So now you don't give a crap about the fact that you feel like crap. Really a good therapeutic objective.
yeah,
So when I made this shift, and you've done the same thing, in asking what's not right, it changed my world. And you got to be two-thirds sick before medicine sees anything wrong. That's not a slam against medicine. That's just as good as the tests are. It's
right.
math. It's the math is math. So when I made that shift, I had to find, well, how can I figure out what's not right? That's how I got into face diagnosis, and oh, you got little subtleties here and this and in this face, and you're kind of a king face, so you're a natural leader, and like to have your own way, you get a little cranky if you don't get it. So when she tells you something, just obey.
Wait, are
And
you just calling me out?
Yeah, I am, and I'm a buckethead, so I got to
My
think about
face right
everything.
now.
So when I knew what words to use with someone, I had better communication and I had better compliance. It almost sounds sinister when I say it that way, and it really isn't. It's just, look, if you come into my office and you're dancing the waltz, I can't come up to you and start the swing dance with you. We're just not going to get along as a
Yeah.
doctor patient. But if I know you're dancing the waltz by what I see on your face, then I will dance the waltz with you without any music playing at all. So this is that ability to communicate with people is so valuable. And this is really a spiritual statement that it is about respecting the person in front of you. And go back to Charlie Kirk. So many people miss the obvious thing. A question would be asked, he'd pick up the microphone and he would answer it. And then what did he do?
Put
He
it down.
laid it down
Yep.
and let them talk. That gesture said, I honor what you're going to say.
Yeah.
He didn't say, and that you're watching the people in Congress. There's somebody on the hot seat, and then there's these senators, and they're both talking at the same time and screaming at each other. Great communication there, you know. I mean, it's disgusting for both of them, no matter what side of the fence you're on. If you're liberal,
Right.
you're conservative, they all suck. Do they have a servant's heart? Charlie Kirk had a servant's heart. Christ had a servant's heart, and he taught us all to have a servant's heart. That was the start of my practice. I did not did not take the role of an employer. I was the employee of everybody that walked through my door. And you can
Mhm.
hire and fire anybody you want. There's no union involved here.
That's
And I
right.
taught my patients that, look, if I do something you don't like, fire me. Tell me first so I can maybe change and maybe
Right.
do something different. But we've taken on this role of power that just creates adversity, and we clash, and there's this derisive energy that occurs, and we don't communicate. And it is the key to communicate. It's okay to disagree with someone. It just is. And yet, can you talk it through and come out with I'll give you an example. I'm sitting in a beautiful fall day in northern Wisconsin, and the leaves are coming off, and I know it's going to snow. So back in the day when snowmobiles came out, I would have been so against them. I don't want that stink. I don't want that noise in my woods. And as my traditional conservative values dictate. Now, the progressive and non-traditional, uh, more open said, well, I think it's a good idea because there's no money to be made here in the wintertime. It dies. Everybody's got to make a lot of money in the summer and they can't do it. So now we can, and now we're as busy in the winter as we are. I would have been wrong with my conservative traditional approach.
Mhm.
So the key is to let's talk about it and see what's going on. And it comes down. I had a dream once, and I know we're probably going over here, but I got to share this. And the dream was information versus affirmation. As a physician, I began learning a lot about health, and then I honed it in and I focused here, and then I got deeper and I got deeper, and I kept learning more and more about what I knew a lot about because it affirmed me. I I I get that. It's human nature. If you're conservative, you're not going to watch MSNBC. You're going to watch Fox. If you're on the other side, you're not going to watch Fox because it doesn't affirm who you are. But if you really want to grow, if you really want to learn, do you not have to seek information? I
Mhm.
would take courses. My wife would say, "What are you taking this for?" I go, "Yeah, just trying to learn something." Well, you don't agree with any of it. I said, "Well, I don't think I agree with anything, but I don't know a lot about it." So on the surface, yes, I don't agree with it. So I would take these courses. I would buy everything they're selling. I was all in. Then I would step away from that moment that I had in that weekend course, and I say, okay, if I believe this and this is my new truth, what will it do to my truths? And I would then change. I would learn, and I expanded my ability. So I reached this point. I got hyper focused, and then I went the other way, and I went, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I realized it's all about spirituality. It's what is
Mhm.
your relationship with your creator? This is the key to health, and that's way out here. That B is at, I mean, that's infinity, and that's where heaven is, and that's where Heavenly Father lives, and He's got a Son. And when I reached that point in my life, it just it just realized I will continue to seek information. Some of it will you won't agree with, and that's okay. But don't do everything to affirm what you believe. because you're not going to grow.
Wow, I that was very, very deep, and I love that so much. And it's
Yeah.
probably going to be so. My final question for you was to leave our listener with a some encouragement, a treasured truth that she can hold on to. But I don't know. I feel like that
I
right.
really, let's use that one. I think it's okay.
I think so too. That
Yeah.
was so good, so rich. And, I'm always bringing it back to the Lord. Matthew 6:33, seek the Lord. And don't worry about everything else because he's got it, but seek him. And when we stop seeking him for everything, including our wellness, then that's when things go awry and we start trying all of these different things. I hear,
Right.
I've tried all the things, I've tried this and that. Great.
Yeah.
Let's seek the Lord now. Let's do this
Yeah.
with the Lord. Let's own your health with the Lord at the forefront of your mind and just
Absolutely.
watch what he will do for you.
Yeah. That,
Yeah.
enough said.
This has been
Drop
so
the mic.
powerful. Yes. Mic drop.
I'll
Thank
go.
you so much for joining me. And it's just such a blessing to always have you on the show. Again, this interview is long overdue. I think we let a whole year go by. But I love that you pour into my community so well. I will be linking all of your information, Dr.
Thank
Todd,
you.
in the show notes.
Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Always a total blessing. Thank you, friend.
I pray you felt encouraged to continue owning your health or to get started owning it with God at the center. Your exhaustion and stress related symptoms do not have to be your lot in life. God has so much more health for you. And if my conversation with Dr. Todd resonated with you today and brought you more clarity, conviction, or just maybe a realization that, yeah, I have been carrying more exhaustion and stress symptoms than I've even allowed myself to admit, you do not have to figure it all out on your own. If you are managing your stress, fatigue, and brain fog while still showing up for everyone else, Midlife Health Restore was created for you. This is not something else to push through. It is a supported midlife health experience designed to help you restore your energy and create a new normal for your midlife health. So enrollment is open. You can learn more and join in the link in the description. And I want to leave you with 3 John 2. Beloved, I pray that in every way you may prosper and enjoy good health, as your soul also prospers. Now remember, you are a beautiful treasure. Your body is a temple, so treasure your wellness.